G'day there guys, my name's Marky, and welcome back to some more stories from Reddit. I hope you enjoy. Am I the asshole for not moving my wedding date to accommodate my sister's pregnancy? I, 25 female, have a sister, Ella, 28 female. Ella and I have always been close growing up, despite her being 3 years older. We've always been best friends. I was her maid of honor, and she is mine. Ella is currently 5 months pregnant. She had a rough first trimester, throwing up 3 to 4 times a day, always tired. Some days she couldn't get out of bed, literally. She had also found out early when she was a month into it because her symptoms were so bad. Her and I live close to each other, and since her husband travels a lot for work, I've stayed with her a lot since I work remotely. My fiancé and I had originally set the date for July. However, seeing how sick she was, I, along with my entire family, were getting worried, and so after my fiancé and I discussed it, we decided to reschedule the wedding until after she had passed her first trimester. Per her doctor, she was supposed to get better. I need to add that no one asked this of us, but I felt that it was needed, and thank God she did get better. She's eating normally, going out, and is back to herself. Seeing this, my fiancé and I talked about our wedding again. I had always wanted a summer wedding on the beach, but I didn't want to wait a full year, and seeing winter wedding pictures was slowly growing on me. And so, we decided on a December wedding. The invitations were finalized last week with the date, and were all sent a couple of days ago. Yes, it's early, but my man and I all have big families/big groups of friends and colleagues. We need the RSVPs early. Yesterday, I got an angry phone call from my sister asking how can I do something like this to her. I was honestly confused and told her as much, and she went on a rant about how inconsiderate I was to not wait until my nephew was born, and that her being maid of honor and 8 months pregnant is going to be hard, and that she already has been through hell. I calmly explained to her that while yes, she is maid of honor, I don't expect her to go above and beyond. Her and my best friend had already planned a girls' night back when my wedding was in July, so we're just going with that again. Everything is already bought, and my best friend will set up. I told her that my man and I have also rebooked everything ourselves. Flowers, venue, and catering are going to be done by our friends who have their own shops and companies, and that I'll pay to have her dress resized to accommodate her bump. I'm even taking care of hair and makeup for all my wedding party, a sort of pamper session where we'll all get together and take pictures. All she's required to do is show up. She is having none of it and demanding that we reschedule it again until next summer. I put my foot down and gave her a flat-out no. My parents called me and asked me to reconsider, saying that I know she's emotional and hormonal. I told her that's not excuse for her to act like a witch. Any opinions and advice are much appreciated. In the comments, not the asshole. However, this whole scenario is odd. You have big families, so I'm assuming a large wedding, and you moved a large wedding on very short notice due to your sister's first trimester sickness, and then, after rescheduling due to her pregnancy, you move it to a date when she's going to be 8 months pregnant? Huh? The first trimester and the tail end of pregnancy are notoriously the times when most pregnant women feel the worst. Granted, early 8 months is different than late, so who knows when she's actually due. If the pregnancy is the concern, then the second trimester and early third are obviously the sweet spots. The logic just seems off. Were there other reasons for the initial rescheduling? OP says, "You're right, it is a large wedding. The only reason we were able to reschedule was because it's our friends' shops and venues, and they were able to do all of this for us. Of course, they were compensated per the contracts and all of that." Info. Are we talking about her being at around 34 weeks pregnant here, i.e. beginning of 8 months, or 37 to 38? There is a world of difference. Like a third of births are in the 37 to 38 week range, and I find it odd that this info has been omitted given the plethora of other details. OP says, she's been using months to count, doesn't actually say how many weeks, so I used months too. Her doctor told her that she conceived in late April or so. Everyone sucks here. Why say you rescheduled to accommodate her when you're switching to a date that she can't attend? This is the part I don't get. You don't have to move the wedding date for her, but don't act like you did her some massive favor when you never checked the exact date with her. She didn't raise concerns about the vague idea of a winter wedding because that's a pretty wide time frame and a different winter date may have worked for her. OP says, hey, it's not a favor since she never asked for it, and I don't hold it against her or act like I'm the epitome of goodness. Someone else says, being emotional is not an excuse to bully others, not the asshole. I went to my brother-in-law's wedding nearly 9 months pregnant with placenta previa, and I was fine. This is more to do with how the sister doesn't want to be pregnant in the photos more than any actual difficulty. The wedding was cancelled once to accommodate her. Now, like you say, she can't bully and emotionally manipulate to have it a second time. I was maid of honor at 8.5 months. Felt great, rocked it. Only concession was asked if I could choose a different dress and allowed bride to okay it. At 8 months, I was in and out of the doctor's office not knowing if I would have a C-section that day. After a few weeks of this, they scheduled the C-section because I was close enough to full term. I don't blame the OP for timing, but I also see the sister's side. Sister shouldn't be pushing to reschedule, but there is a chance that she may not even be able to attend. If she can attend, she will likely be pretty uncomfortable. That's likely not how she imagined being in her sister's wedding. She's being selfish, but she's also likely imagined that her sister would want her comfortable at the wedding. All pregnancies are different, I know that. I had 3 where I was working until the week before they were born, went camping at 8.5 months, and decorated a whole nursery 4 days before they were born. My 4th was an absolute nightmare, high risk, and I was also in and out of the doctor. The 5th one, I'm only 21 weeks, but it's even better than the first 3. Laws of average says that she will be fine at 8 months. We are always uncomfortable at that stage, but that shouldn't be enough to keep her from her wedding. And even if it were, sister could gracefully bow out and wish her sister well. Instead, she's demanding a change of date and getting her parents involved, which, any way you look at it, isn't very mature or appropriate. Yeah, like I can see where the everyone sucks here comment is coming from, saying that, you chose a terrible date for her, but as everyone will say ad nauseum, it's your wedding, you do whatever the hell you want, no one can really change that and no one should be pressuring you about your wedding. Yes, it sucks that the wedding falls around the 8-month mark, but other people have been fine with it, so I don't get why the sister is making such a big deal about it. She hasn't presented a compelling argument as to why she can't attend and why it's so bad for her. Just that, I'm gonna be 8 months around then, how dare you plan it? Okay, shit, sit it out as maid of honor then if you can't attend for the sole reason that you're 8 months pregnant, goddamn. I think it'd be insane to reschedule this wedding again. I don't think that OP should allow that to happen. I'm on OP's side for this one, I think you're not the arsehole. Back up to the post, there is an edit. First of all, thank you for all the comments and advice. I'm definitely seeing her side more than I was before. I do need to clarify some things that I didn't add in the post. When we rescheduled the wedding, her and brother-in-law had my fiancé and I over for dinner. We do weekly dinners every Friday. She thanked me for rescheduling and told me that she felt guilty. I made sure to tell her that I don't blame her, that having her there healthy and happy is what matters, in whatever capacity that she can give me. I made sure she knew that she could step down from the maid of honor at any point, even if it was a day before the wedding, and that I would understand. That dinner, my man and I also floated the idea of a winter wedding around, and both her and her brother-in-law said that it would be fun since we haven't had that in our family yet. We also chose the date around many of our family's schedules, along with our friends' availabilities, who were also being gracious enough to still do our wedding flowers and catering, and renting us the venue despite us rescheduling it once already. We didn't decide anything lightly. Also, I might update, if I ever figure out how, because my parents called me and invited me to their house so my sister and I can talk it out. I have no idea why she's using a third party, even if it's our parents. And now, onto the update. Hey guys, it's me again. I want to say thank you for all the advice and opinions. Each and every one helped a lot to see where I went wrong and her side of the story. I realize and agree that I was so damn wrong to 1. Move the date to winter and December of all months, not only when she would be heavily pregnant, but also with Christmas around the corner, and 2. Not discussing the specific date beforehand with her and asking for her opinion. While I've never been pregnant, I did watch many of my friends and cousins go through it, not to mention my own sister, and should have been more considerate and empathetic. My fiancé and I should have also kept in mind that doing it around Christmas time was selfish, because even though we had decided not to do a wedding registry or accept gifts on both wedding dates, we should have taken into consideration that dresses, suits, gas are still costly. That was our privilege showing, and we are assholes for it. People were also questioning me about why my sister was informed about the date through a card. That's because she hasn't been involved in the planning all that much, the way she asked to, so she doesn't stress out, which was fair enough. And since she didn't have responsibilities, I didn't tell her, which again, I should have done. As I mentioned in my original post, I was invited to my parents' house, my sister using them as a third party, and I was asked to update by a few people, and so here it is. I ended up going yesterday with my fiancé, as some of you mentioned, in case it was a gang-up situation. They were not expecting my fiancé, that was clear, but they didn't ask him to leave either. We sat down, and I felt like I needed to start off the conversation, and so I did. And I apologized first and foremost, and then talked to them honestly about the things that I mentioned above. I noticed while I was talking that my parents were engaging us, giving us their POVs. My sister, however, was sitting to the side, not at all that interested in what I was saying. I tried to address her, first with the apology, and then we were trying to come up with solutions, but all I got was one-word answers. I'm not gonna lie, I was getting frustrated, and I wasn't discreet about it after a few failed attempts. She seemed to pick up on it, and that set her off. Not just verbally, I mean throwing pillows. When those ran out, she threw her juice at me, and finally a pen, all while screaming about how unfair it is that my wedding is still overshadowing her pregnancy. Oh, the truth comes out, the truth comes out. My fiancé, bless him, took the brunt of the juice and pillows. Obviously, I didn't retaliate, not only because she's pregnant and I was in shock, but also because I've never been in a physical fight in my life. After that, she started screaming and wailing and stormed off to her old bedroom. I looked at my parents bewildered, expecting them to say something, anything. When they didn't, I asked my fiancé to leave and stormed off as well. My fiancé and I are still talking about what to do. We also called his parents and siblings for advice. May update once we figure something out. In the comments, your sister is expecting her baby to take center stage. I would keep the wedding date and just remove her from the wedding. If baby is born, make it a child-free wedding. And OP says, I honestly don't mind sharing the spotlight because it's literally a baby. God, this is gonna sound conceited, but a baby wouldn't be on par with a bride in a wedding, no matter how adorable they are. Did your parents always treat you two differently? OP says, growing up, there were never favorites with our parents, which is why this feels like a slap now. We were both treated equally, both doted on, and both raised the same way. Why is no one asking if something is wrong with his sister? This behavior, throwing things and screaming incoherently, appears to be unusual for her. Shouldn't someone talk to her doctor? Is it unusual, or is this just the biggest meltdown? I have a feeling that what OP describes as close translates to close as long as I acquiesce to all my sister's whims. Sounds like the sister is used to being the center of attention, and now here comes OP with her winter wedding, and sister can't handle that. The parents not stepping in speaks volumes though. Everyone would be on my shit list. Yeah, the parents are already used to this, and OP backing down to keep the peace. Disinvite the lot of them. Tell everyone that it's because your sister feels a wedding overshadowed her pregnancy. Block the parents and sister so their whining doesn't get through. My question is this normal behavior for the sister, or is she having some sort of issue brought about by her pregnancy and hormones? Given that OP says that she and her sister have always been best friends, this does seem to be out of the ordinary for her. It's already been established that the first trimester has been rough on her. Shouldn't someone be suggesting she get checked by a doctor or something, given this seemingly out-of-the-norm behavior of screaming and throwing things? She also says somewhere that things usually go smoothly when the sister gets her way. So I'm thinking she's been entitled for a long time, but the hormones are ramping up the reaction. Or that could be a convenient excuse anyway. Yeah, I stand by what I said. Obviously, if it hadn't gone this way, I'd be wrong in what I said initially, given how OP started this update. But I'm glad that I stand corrected here. Every day I wake up looking for a reason for my enemies to validate me, and today my prayers have been answered. I don't think that she has mental, hormonal, or whatever issues going on with the pregnancy here. Does just sound like OP has been living under a rock as to the sister's delusions and entitlements. Maybe for the best that she doesn't get to be maid of honor with this one, because she's going to, most likely, do something to upstage OP on her wedding day. And we've seen that countless times here. It's best to just remove people like that from your wedding. Don't give them the time of day. Thank you for sharing your story with us, OP. Our next post is by user OKCheesecake351, titled, "Told my husband I'm not happy with our sex life and he did not take it well." For background, I, 25 female, and my husband, 27 male, have been together for 7 years. Lately, we've been having sex once a month, and by lately, I mean the past 3 years. We have 2 young kids, so obviously we won't be going at it every day, but it's not nearly enough. He attempts to initiate it the majority of the time, but I turn him down a lot. I thought that I have no sex drive, but I recently realized I do. I'm just not turned on by the way that things are initiated, so to me, it ends up feeling like a chore. Last night, I worked up the courage to talk to him about it and told him that I was not happy with our sex life, and it feels like it's gotten a little boring and predictable. And he did not take it well. He immediately got angry, defensive, and it ended with me sleeping on the couch. He tried to fight me on that, but he wouldn't even touch me in bed, so I felt not wanted there. Today we tried to talk about it again, but he still feels his reaction is justified, and I'm putting it all on him. I said last night and again today that I need to be better about not saying no, but it's not just about that for me. It's just the way that I'm turned on has changed. I understand being upset. My feelings would be hurt if it was turned around, but I don't understand the anger from the initial reaction, and I can't let it go. We keep going in circles trying to talk. I'm so upset today and feel like I should have never said anything. I never want to bring up anything bad about our sex life again. What should I do? In the comments, Overrated New says, "How do you initiate? And how often? Sounds like you need him to do everything? I think it's great to talk about it, but definitely give specific things you want him to try. Just giving insults will probably never go well." OP says, "I don't often at all," which I did acknowledge and own up to. However, I did state the new things I would like him to try, and he felt like it was all on him, which I tried to clarify was not, and I need to be better about initiating and trying new things. Lord of the Flagon says, quote, "I've been rebuffing my husband for years, but it's all his fault and I'm not willing to initiate or make any change myself." That's exactly how your post and replies read to a guy. OP says, "I didn't say I wouldn't make any changes. The conversation never got to that point. He walked off. You told him new things that you wanted him to do, not what you would change." OP says, "I did tell him that I would change though, is what I'm trying to say." So not only are you rejecting your husband most times that he initiates, and he probably doesn't feel desired, but you also complain about your inadequate sex life. I can understand why your husband would be upset. You're putting this all on him to fix, but you admitted yourself that you don't initiate and that you need to put in more effort. It's great that you are communicating with him, but that conversation could have gone a lot better had you not put all the blame on him. He feels like damned if I do, damned if I don't at this point. OP says, he actually did use those words, damned if I do, damned if I don't. I can definitely see how I could have approached it better and the work I need to be putting in as well. I did think acknowledging that I have to be better was adequate, but I should have gone into more detail. You are right. Back up to the post, there is an edit. I would just like to thank everyone for the constructive criticism. Sometimes you have to hear it from others and not the person that you're at odds with. I can see how my approach was not the best, and there is definitely some self-reflection that I need to be making and need to meet him in the middle. Thanks. Yeah, I think at this point you can't go back in time and change the way that you initiated the conversation, which obviously upset him. but it's good that you have the self-awareness to learn from your mistakes now and try a gentler and more positive approach next time that you breach this subject with him. And I'm happy that you're able to do that, because there's definitely a lot of people out there that do not care and will let a dead bedroom continue. I'm in agreement with everyone else. The way that you initiated that conversation with him made it sound like he's an idiot for not pleasuring you sexually and not being in your head and knowing exactly what you want, because your mouth never uttered, can we try something different? I don't like this. This feels boring and calculated. It sounds to me like you kept all of those feelings in, and now you're blaming him for not being a mind reader. And now, onto the updates. I want to initiate more with my husband. This is for the husbands. What do you guys like? I want to initiate more than just saying, you want to? Some creative new ideas would be good. We've been together 7 years, so need to spice it up. And edits, I feel like I need to include that we do have 2 young kids, so can't be the most spontaneous and go have a night away or things like that. In the comments, Optimal Anybody says, does he like specific outfits, any type of game or roleplay? What about some type of light tying up? You or him, depending on your personalities. What about flirty text messages when you aren't together, or talking about what you want to do with him later, earlier in the day? If you're comfortable enough, a risky picture during the day would be fun too. There is one common theme here. All of this is you showing interest and initiating. If this isn't something that you do a lot, starting and adding any of these options would be huge in my opinion. Take it from someone that has to initiate nearly 100% of activities and beg to get any of this kind of stuff. Altamazu says, send him a text midday and tell him what you want him to do to you or what you are going to do to him. This lets things build a bit. You can also send him a message that says, what should I be wearing when you get home? Or when you come to bed. I also really like it when my significant other grabs the remote naked, turns off the TV, and tells me to get into the bedroom, on the couch, etc. Yes, ma'am is my usual response. And now, onto the latest updates. I wanted to thank everybody for the kind words and the tough love on my post yesterday, venting about my sex life with my husband. I apologized to my husband, and I told him that I can understand how my approach upset him, and I took responsibility on my shortcomings when it comes to our intimacy. The conversation went really, really well, and, safe to say, was very effective. Twice last night and once this morning, and it very much did not feel boring. I have never posted on Reddit before, and truly didn't think that one little post could really make a positive impact on my marriage. Sometimes you really have to hear that you're wrong from someone besides the one you're upset with to actually understand. Thank you again, everybody. In the comments, ThrowRA says, excellent news. Did you initiate these encounters? Bet he absolutely loved it if you did. And OP says, 2 of them I did. Well done. Happy for you two. Coming from another man, he's going to be walking on clouds today. Initiating sex makes most men feel supremely validated and desired. Keep it up, but it shouldn't be just you initiating or just him all of the time. There is a give and take and a push and shove dynamic that once you two are in sync, you'll get it. Consistency and open communication are the 2 most important things moving forward to make this sustainable. I doubt anything changes this fast. Maybe you're trying to save face because majority of the comments from yesterday told you how you're the villain in your own story? How did you suddenly have a change of heart or beliefs overnight after 3 long years? All I'm saying is, until you fix the fundamental issues that made you sex-starve your husband for 3 years, your newfound libido might not last. This seems like what we often see when a man finally decides to leave a sex-starved marriage. Wife suddenly finds her lost libido overnight and wants to give all the sex in the world, but we know that it doesn't last. It's back to the status quo after 2 months. And OP says, well, I hate to break it to you, but some people can actually take criticism very well and do something about it. And having a very healthy, understanding conversation with someone you really love can lead to fixing problems right away. Who would need to save face to a bunch of strangers who have no idea who I am? Someone else says, This reminds me of my ex-girlfriend who never initiated even once during our relationship. I don't have the biggest sex drive, and she had some health issues, so it was fine for me that it happened maybe once a week. However, at one point, she rejected after I had tried to initiate after more than 2 weeks. It was not a big deal for me, but suddenly she hit me with the, "It feels like you're only with me for sex," out of nowhere. That hurt a lot. It made me feel like I should be ashamed, and I was, but I didn't really understand why. I basically left her alone after that. We didn't have sex for over a month, and then she hit me with that it feels like you don't find me attractive at all, why do we have sex so rarely? The relationship had lots of huge issues aside from that anyway, so the writing was on the wall long before that. I got shamed for initiating and got shamed for not initiating. Jeez, that's awful. I'm glad for your sake that she's an ex. That was an incredibly hurtful thing to say, and then flipping it around later? Ugh. She said and did a lot of hurtful things. I did too at some point. Most of the time I had no idea what I was doing wrong, and it felt like walking in an active minefield just existing. It was an awful time, and I wish I had just ended the relationship after the first few weeks of red flags. But I was young, stupid, had no experience, and there were a lot of weird dynamics at play, like me just desperately wanting to be accepted and loved by anyone, her having health issues that also led to mental issues. It was just a huge mess for everyone involved. It's been over a decade now, and I'm in a fairly good place. She is as well, as far as I know. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it in the comments down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!